What's up, guys? It's Ryan and Crystal's Reviews, and it's Friday. That means it's time to take a look and review some of the books that I got this week. This is the After the Pool is Gone show. This is episode 4. So what I'm going to do is if you go back and watch Wednesday's episode of my comic haul, I got about 25 books. So I broke these up into three sets. My skip-its, my were good, but they didn't make my top 5, and my top 5. So let's start off with the skip-its, and the first skip-it for me is Way of X number 3. This is the connecting variant cover. I tried to read this, I just wasn't into it. I don't know why. I've read this book before, the series, and I like it, but for some reason this one just didn't really grab me. The Hellfire Gala, and I talked about this in the last week's video, has kind of been dragging on. This week we get a little more action in it, but for some reason this one didn't feel like there was a whole lot of action. It was a lot of Kurt getting drunk and kind of making an idiot of himself, and he did tease Onslaught though, which I believe is coming in a few months on that book. So that's a skip. So next up is Superman 32. I didn't really like how this one ended. It's got a couple good parts in it, but I thought kind of dragged on there at the beginning when they were talking, when it was mainly just about, I don't even know how to say the thing's name. Where was it? Bacchus. I thought that was just kind of dragged on in the beginning of the book. I really didn't. I know this was the end of the story arc. What's the name of the story arc? Up here in the front. DC likes to hide their story arcs all over the place. The One Who Fell, Part 3. So that's the story arc, and I think this is the last story on it. So we'll be getting a new arc for Superman, which is good. So next up is Teen Titans Academy number 4. I like the cover with Starfire and Nightwing, but this book was terrible. Just flat out bad. I know a lot of people have really hated this title, and I've not been a fan of it. I will probably drop it unless they got a cool cover, then I'll probably pick it up. But it just hasn't been that. It just hasn't been good at all. Silk number 4. Next up, again, another book. I couldn't get into it, didn't really like it. I think I maybe got halfway through it and then I gave up. The art inside isn't really all that great, and there's some of it there. I liked the SpiderMan villains cover, so that was kind of a plus. That was really the only reason to get the book. Next up is the last issue. I think this is the last issue of Red Sonja. This is issue 28, the Linsner variant. Again, I felt like there's been a few issues where I thought this was a decent book, and then this one just seemed to get lazy from top to bottom. The art is just lazy. It's just not very good. So, I mean, that was another cover pickup because I like that cover. And then the last book on the skips is Harley Quinn number 4. Again, cardstock variant cover. I like this cover. This book, again, kind of goes along with Silk. I don't really like the art, and I think the story is just kind of bad at this point. I mean, we're only 4 issues in. She's been fighting Hugo Strange forever, and it's just not really, just hasn't really grabbed me like I was kind of hoping it would. So that is the skips, and so these next books are my they're good. They just didn't make my top 5. These aren't in any order whatsoever. This is Sword number 6. This is the connecting variant. This was a good book. This is what I've been wanting out of the Hellfire Gala this whole time. I understand there's parts to set up, but I feel like this book is about 2 weeks late. Doom's in this book, which automatically for me makes it really good, and he plays a pretty big role. And anytime he's on pages, I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed the back and forth between him and Captain America at the beginning, and there's a little bit of the book. And all in all, it was a good read. And that's what I've been wanting out of the Hellfire Gala. And then to follow that up, Wolverine 13, the connecting variant. Again, more action. This book was probably the most action we've had so far. What I feel like so far in the Hellfire Gala series. So there's a little bit of interior art there. Deadpool shows up, and he showed up in one of the previous issues too. I think it might have been X-Force, I think is the one he showed up in. So all in all, not bad. It was a good book. Next up is Action Comics 1032. I think this book started to get better. I like that we get Arthur in there since he doesn't have a solo book going on right now. You get a really good back and forth between Superman and Batman. Supes just kind of shows up. Batman's in the middle of stopping a car chase. He just kind of shows up, doesn't help. He just kind of talks to him, which is kind of funny. And it leads into, there's this big monster that shows up, and then Steve Trevor shows up, and they're talking about there's fragments that Steve's looking for, and I think it's going to lead into a nice little run, hopefully. Next up, I know a lot of people hated on this book this week. I thought it was okay. It didn't make my skip-ish just because of who it is and the fact that it's a continuing story. It's Amazing Spider-Man. This is 69, Legacy 870. This is part 3 of the Chameleon Conspiracy. I want it to end because I think this book needs some new blood on it. Needs a new writer. Nick Spencer is just really not doing it. His stuff's all over the place. You get like you might get a page of something, then it flips over and give you another page, and then you flip a page. You might keep continuing the story. You flip a page, boom, it goes back, and then boom, it goes back on the next page, and it's just kind of all over the place for me. This is going to continue in Giant Size Spider-Man next week, and I think we get one more book, and then this is over. Maybe it ends next week. I don't quite remember. But we do get another teaser for Sinister War, in which we got Doc Ock kind of controlling it, and then Electro shows up at the end. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. This is spoilers, so as we get further into these books, the better books, I'm going to talk a little more about them. So just keep that in mind. Next up, I like this book. I didn't know if I would or not, but I actually did. This is Captain Marvel 29, Legacy 163. I like the beginning, the back and forth between her and Enchantress about her wanting to use magic and her basically using Doctor Strange to convince Enchantress to let her to teach her magic. But it was kind of weird because about 3/4 of the way through the book, I felt that the art changed, which was kind of weird. I don't know if that was just me or what. There was another book that it did that, and I think that's in one of these too. It just kind of all of a sudden it flipped. But it's a pretty good story. I'm looking forward to it continuing on and seeing more of what, how Doctor Strange is going to be involved in it, because I'm a big Strange fan, so we get that. Next up is Vengeance of Vampirella number 19. This ends the story arc on this run. She is defeated. I can't remember the other chick's name. She killed her, and then now we're starting issue 2. I actually kind of thought this was going to be the last issue since it kind of ended off, but no, it calls for issue 20, and I think there's even an issue 21 might be teased. So this book's going to keep going. I like this cover, the Perillo variant cover. That was the main cover. Next up, this was a hard book not to put in my top 5, but I didn't because I have not read the first couple books, so I came in this late. This is Stray Dogs Part 5. That's the horror movie variant, which is really cool. It's a great book, great ending. This is one I'm not gonna talk about because you got to go read this book. You got to read it. I don't want to spoil it. For sure. And they kind of at the end when they show the pictures of all the people that have sent in pictures of their dogs, They talk about they're going to print more in Stray Dogs Dog Days, which I think is just kind of is a trade paper, and he kind of talked about that it was, you know, this was the end. I'm hoping that they do another one and they keep going, because it was a pretty good series. Next up, there's another book that probably should have made it in my top 5, but it just wasn't quite there, is Detective Comics 1038, as we continue on with Mr. Worth fighting Batman and trying to find out what happened to his daughter. You know, the second Lady Clayface shows up, takes that form. He kind of slows down. At that point, he just gives up, goes in, gets arrested, and then they let him out like 5 minutes later. And he gives a press conference, and he talks about how he wants to take down Batman and Bruce Wayne, which is always interesting. Penguin shows up, and looks like he's going to be involved in the next few books. So I've got high hopes for this series continuing on. It's been pretty good so far. Next book, Wonder Woman 774. This was probably, if I had to rank these books, this would be the last book of my. It was good, but just didn't make my top 5. Just continuing the story. You know, Dead Man's in here, which is always good to have him in a story, but it just kind of, I don't know, she's been fighting Norse gods in this afterlife, and then now she's wondering why she wasn't with the Greek gods in the afterlife. The squirrel had something to do with it, and now they've gone. Her and Dead Man have gone to the graveyard of the gods. I believe that's what they call it, and I believe that's what they call. Yeah. So, yeah, the graveyard of the gods. So that's kind of where it ends. And I didn't read the secondary story with young Diana. I haven't read that one in this book. And it's going to continue on and get a great shot here of the Keeper. So looking forward to that. Next up, this was the book that the art changed about halfway through. And I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with this book. There's been times where I've really liked it. There's times I really don't. This is Grimm Fairytales 49. Again, and I'm going to show this so you can tell. So we get art like that. You can just look at their faces. You get art like that. You flip one page, everything changes. The way the faces are drawn, all of it. So that was kind of weird. I didn't really like that. But you know, like I said, it's always been so-so with me. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy 15, Legacy 177. This is a Hellfire Gala tie-in. I'm not sure that that's really been advertised, but it does tie into the Hellfire Gala. Nova and Star-Lord show up. Nova and Magneto get into it. They start fighting. And then they have this moment where they go off by themselves and basically apologize to each other, which I thought was kind of odd. But it was an okay book. Magneto's trying to like convince him to join him, but it's probably not really going to happen. But it was a good book. So we got that. And then the last of the good books, but not in my top 5, which was kind of surprising because I really did like this book. It was the final issue of the Heroes Reborn saga. This is Heroes Return #1. So obviously the Avengers are back, and that's what the title says, right? So a lot of action in this one. Coulson meets his demise, President Coulson, and everything kind of goes back to normal. But Nighthawk is still kind of around, and so is Hyperion. A couple of them are gone. A couple of them are still around. I'm not going to say who, but I did give you a clue on 2 that at least survived. There's more that survived, but some of them died too. And then you get this ending with Mephisto talking about there are 616 of him because you include him. So he says with 615 more. So there's obviously this is going to spin out into another series at some point, which is good. I like this series. I thought it was well done. I think people have kind of been so-so about it, but I liked it. There's some art there, interior art to show you. All right, so that's it for it was a good book, but it didn't make my top 5. So here's the top 5 books for the week, June 23rd, 2021. Number 5, Infinite Frontier, number 1. I like this book. I'm looking forward to continuing on. I'm looking forward to seeing Captain Carrot a little more. I think it's a funny character. And then you've got Machine Head, which I believe is getting his own series, I think. No, I guess that's Hardwire is getting his own series. I guess they're two different. I saw that advertisement. I thought that's who it was. So it's different. You get President Superman. You get Captain Carrot from Earth 26. You get Aqua Woman on Earth 11. Mary Marvel from Earth 5. And Machine Head from Earth 8. And Calvin Ellis is President Superman. There's some interior art. It's a great book. Nice opening to this storyline. Flash is running through the different Earths, and he finds one that he says there's something about this place that feels familiar, like a crime scene. And there is a whole bunch of what seem to be dead people, which I believe we saw in Flash. What was the last issue of Flash? It's what it looked like to me. I don't know if that's really the truth or not, but that's what it looked like to me. And then you get, I'm not going to show you who shows up. That's for you to read the book. And so there's a lot of, so basically Earth knows that there's a multiverse, that the multiverse exists. And there's a lot of fighting amongst people believing that it does and people that don't. So that came out of Dark Knight Metal and I think issue 0. So all in all, good book. That's my number 5 book. Number 4 book, Something is Killing the Children 17. Another solid entry. So Erica is about to take her initiation into the House of Slaughter. And so there's a little bit more backstory there. Aaron, which is her family branch is what they call it. He's like her brother. They kind of get into it a little bit, but it's a pretty good book. I mean, obviously this book is continuing to stay hot. The storyline is real nice. There's some interior art. Looks really good. Number 3 book for this week. This one's probably kind of a surprise that it is actually as low as it was because I really liked it, but the first 2 I liked just a lot better. Batman Reptilian number 1. I know. Phenomenal art, unbelievable, and Liam Sharp just killing it. The storyline's great. The thing was, I found myself sometimes just like looking at the art and forgetting about the word, and I had to go back and reread. I love how he makes Batman look like he's 10 feet tall in a couple of these shots. Like that one right there. That's a just awesome shot right there. And Batman looks like he's 10 feet tall. So really great book. I'm not gonna talk about this one because I want you all to go out and read it. This is a definite get. If you didn't get it, you need to go find it ASAP because this is going to be a great series. Just a great solid book. Couple twists and turns there. Next up, my number 2 book, Blue Flame number 2. I loved issue 1. I love chapter 2 just as much, if not better. There's a great twist at the end. So Sam is taken to this what seems to be like a library, and they think he's dead, but he's not dead. His sister, they report that he's dead in a shooting where a lot of the members of, I forget what they call them. Oh shoot, I just forgot what they call them. But the members of the vigilantes, some of them have died. They're looking for others, and they say that he's died, but he hasn't really died, or has he? We're not sure. We're going to get to that in a second, but he's on this this planet that's like a Library of Congress as he's waiting trial for humanity. And what's sad is you've got all these, you can see it there, you've got all these different spots for all these different planets, and this is all they have on Earth. That's all that they say is worth anything. You are a nascent species. This is all that the tribunal deemed relevant. 4 boxes. So he kind of takes offense to that. His sister and everybody rush to the hospital, and I'm going to talk about this twist because this was a phenomenal twist. And Sam is in the hospital, but how's he on the other planet? We don't know. That's kind of where the book ends, and it ends with the last page with him standing over himself in the hospital. Phenomenal book. This series is been great so far. Just 2 in. I can't wait for issue 3. Really looking forward to it. Hopefully it keeps that steam up. So number 1, you could probably deduce by what book wasn't here, what my number 1 book is. Number 1 this week, Spawn's Universe number 1. Phenomenal read. It's a hefty book, and I couldn't put it down. I just went right through it. No big deal. So you get a main story here with Spawn and they call him Cog, which I like calling Cog because I can never, Cagliostro. I say it half the time right, and half the other time I don't. So you get a great opening story, which I think is going to start is the main Spawn story, and it kind of pushes that a little bit. Gunslinger's involved in there, and they talk about it being starting towards the end, which is great, and this is going to be a great book going forward. And then you get a single story with medieval Spawn, which is really cool, and it was a good story. So these last 3 or 4 stories are only like a couple pages long. The main story is with Spawn and Cagliostro and Gunslinger, but these other stories are only a couple pages long. And then we get a She-Spawn story, which is always nice. Always like to see Jessica. And then the final one is Gunslinger, which is a great, it's going to be a great book when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. And then it teases the 3 new books that are coming from Spawn. It says this, the Year of Spawn. You got King Spawn number 1. It's on sale next month. Gunslinger Spawn in October, and The Scorched in December. So there's those right there. So we're looking forward to those. Of course, you got the regular Spawn book going. First new Spawn book since like 92, I think, is when McFarlane started at 91, 92. So that's really cool that we're getting some new Spawn stuff. Thank you all for watching the video, and like I said, these are my picks. This is how I felt. I just try to help everyone because I know a lot of people get out there and you get to your LCS and you see this big rack of books, and there's like 40, 50 books every month, and you're like, which one should I read? Which one should I just leave on the rack? If you're a collector, it's a little harder because then like books like this, you start collecting. And you're like, well, I know it's not that great of a book, but I've already collected 10 issues, 12 issues. I want to keep going. So you kind of get stuck with that. But then you can just, collect it, bag and board it. You don't have to read it, So that kind of gives you a good opportunity to look to come to someone and give their opinions. So appreciate it. Like I said, we've been talking about in the last few videos, we're still doing our 100 subscriber giveaway. Tonight's video is the last video that you can qualify for. We're going to do the drawing tomorrow, probably when we get back from Collecticon. If we go, we haven't decided if we're going to go yet. If we do, I think we're going to try to live stream. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow morning, sometime 10, 11 o'clock, somewhere around in there. Appreciate it. And like I said, all you got to do is you got to be a subscriber. You got to like the video, comment on the video, what you liked, what you didn't like. Did you pick up any of these books this week? Did you like Spawn's Universe number 1? That was my pick of the week, hands down. Easy pick for me. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's Friday. We made it through the week, made it through another week, which is good. And we'll hope you have a good weekend, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow. See ya.